So Dina Kupfer is at the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office with new information this noon time. Good afternoon, Dina.
Good afternoon to you, Julissa. Well, just within the last hour, we heard from the El Dorado County Sheriff, John D'Agostini, about the circumstances that led up to last night's deadly shooting involving Deputy Ishmael. And we did learn a lot more information about what exactly happened. So those El Dorado County Sheriff's deputies did respond to a home in the unincorporated area of Somerset, as you mentioned. This was just after 12:30 in the morning, and this was regarding theft at a marijuana garden at a private residence. Once the deputies arrived, they say that they were shot at by an unknown number of people. Sheriff's Deputy Brian Ishmael was hit, as well as an off-duty deputy from San Joaquin County who was riding along with Ishmael last night. He underwent surgery and has since been released from the hospital. But of course, we know that Deputy Ishmael unfortunately paid the ultimate sacrifice in this very sad story last night. The El Dorado County Sheriff's Office says that he was with their department for 4 years. Prior to his work as a deputy sheriff, he worked with the Placerville Police Department for 2 years and has great ties to this community. The sheriff took a moment to remember his deputy this morning.
Brian worked in this community and lived in this community. He was personable, easy to talk to, kind, and always positive. He never had a bad day. He was a loving father and husband, and he leaves behind his wife and 3 children.
And just such a sad circumstance and series of circumstances, knowing that he does leave behind his wife and 3 children. Flowers have been left here by community members. People have been coming and going to the sheriff's office all throughout the morning into the afternoon, just trying to give their respects, give honor to the men and women who do pay the ultimate sacrifice. And we have heard from a number of people coming in today just saying they just want to say thank you and to show that they care. This community here in El Dorado County, of course, not a big one, and many people knew this deputy and his family. As far as those suspects involved, we know that it was 2 male Hispanics, and they were both taken into custody. One of them was shot at by the off-duty deputy with San Joaquin County. We do not know the circumstances surrounding his injuries, but at this time, the sheriff's office here says that they are still trying to figure out if there are any more outstanding suspects. Back to you.
All right, Dina Kupfer live for us this afternoon in El Dorado County. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you, Julissa. Well, I want to show you the flags here at the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. They are at half-staff, and this is the scene across many of our law enforcement agencies across Northern California this morning because of what happened with Deputy Brian Ishmael in the overnight hours here in El Dorado County. And we do want to tell you more about this deputy. We learned that he was a 4-year deputy with the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. Before his time with this department, he worked for the Placerville Police Department for 2 years. We also learned this afternoon from the sheriff here of El Dorado County, he leaves behind a wife and 3 children. And also, the sheriff described him as personable, kind, easy to talk to, always positive, and again, someone who leaves behind a family, 3 children. We also want to tell you about what we learned in this press conference regarding the circumstances in last night's shooting. So the sheriff did give us some more information this noon, saying that his deputies responded to a home in the unincorporated community of Somerset just before 12:30 this morning. And that was regarding theft at a marijuana garden on a private residence. Once the deputies arrived, they say that they were shot at by an unknown number of people. Sheriff's Deputy Brian Ishmael was hit by gunfire, as well as an off-duty deputy from San Joaquin County who was on a ride-along with Deputy Ishmael. We have since learned that that off-duty deputy was shot, underwent surgery, but was released from the hospital this morning. We have learned he is a 28-year-old deputy with the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office and is somebody who has been with the department for 2 years. At this time, we are still waiting some of the circumstances regarding the suspects involved in this. We know 2 men were taken into custody following the shooting that happened in the overnight hours. One of those suspects was shot at by the off-duty deputy from San Joaquin County. We do not know the extent of that person's injuries. But again, here in El Dorado County, community members have been coming by all day, just paying their respects and telling the people who work here, the men and women in uniform, that they are just so unbelievably sorry for their loss. Back to you. Good morning to you, Lisa. Well, moments ago, we saw the procession come through here on US 50 through Folsom, and you can see behind me this freeway overpass lined with first responders. Moments ago, we saw many first responders standing on the tops of their vehicles as the procession came through on its way from El Dorado County through to Sacramento County, where the body of the fallen deputy, Brian Ishmael, is expected to be brought to the Sacramento County Coroner's Office. And fire trucks, paramedics, even a big rig carrying a CAL FIRE heavy loader piece of equipment had sirens on, lights going as they drove through on the US 50 corridor moments ago. Traffic pulled over to the side and allowed those first responders to come through as they paid their respects for this fallen deputy. And again, we are still seeing some of the shining lights here from some of those vehicles across many of the freeway overpasses here in Folsom. We are on our way now to the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office to get more information about this fallen deputy. We know he had ties to Placerville with the police department there as well, and has been with the El Dorado County Sheriff's Department for a number of years. And so we're going to have much more coming up a little bit later this hour. Live from Folsom, I'm Dina Kupfer. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Dina, thank you. Again, we'll continue to monitor this situation as we learn more this morning. But first, we go to Dina Kupfer at the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office with what we know now. Good morning, Dina.
Good morning to you, Lisa. Well, I can tell you that we are expecting an updated press conference here at 11 a.m. at the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office, where we are expected to get more information about the circumstances in this overnight shooting. I also want to show you a woman just came by from the community and dropped by flowers from the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office right outside. And this has been something that we have seen time and time again in situations like this, where the community wants to just express some form of gratitude for the incredible work that our law enforcement agencies do day in and day out. And of course, paying the ultimate sacrifice, unfortunately, was Deputy Brian Ishmael. You're looking at a picture of this deputy now. He had been with the department for many years. We are not being given any details regarding the circumstances of what happened last night, but I just spoke to Sergeant Anthony Principi, who tells me that this deputy has served this community for quite some time. Take a listen.
Yeah, he's been a deputy here for almost exactly 4 years. Prior to that, he worked for Placerville PD. I don't know how long he worked there for. I don't have that information. And then he had a wife and a family.
A wife and a family. Of course, you think about the people who were impacted by this, not only the law enforcement family, but also his own family. And as we watched the procession move from El Dorado County into Sacramento County earlier today, where Deputy Brian Ishmael's body was taken to the Sacramento County Coroner's Office, we saw lines of different law enforcement agencies and first responders on the area freeway overpasses as that procession moved through US 50 earlier today, paying their respects to this fallen deputy. And again, the circumstances as far as what happened, I asked several questions about, do we know exactly what happened? Do we know what led up to the shooting, what the call was? And at this time, that's just not something they're ready to release, as part of this investigation is continuing at this hour. But again, we are expecting to get an update from the sheriff himself coming up at 11 a.m. and we'll have those updates for you on our CBS 13 News at noon. Back to you.
All right, Dina Kupfer live for us this morning. Thanks for that update. As I mentioned, we do